welcome back to the channel Hum of Programming. In today's session, we will be continuing our third session of programming with Java. In this third session, we will learn how to implement encapsulation in Java. After that, we will learn about polymorphism and inheritance, right? So these are the agenda of today. Let's get started with encapsulation. So as it is in the name itself, encapsulation, which is capsule, right? So capsule is nothing but a tablet, right? So in a tablet, there will be a lot of chemicals, right? So chemical in the sense there will be a lot of some medications, right? So a patient who is taking that tablet doesn't have the need to know about all the ingredients of that particular tablet, right? So the patient just needs to know whether he is taking a exact tablet for the issue, right? So in such kind of scenarios, so there is a no need of learning about the background details, right? For example, when you are playing a game, you just need to know what are the controls that can be used to play a game. For example, what are the keys that are required to move the object left or right, up, top to bottom, right? So these are the details which is enough to play the game, right? Rather than that, there is no need of learning about the back end of the particular game or front end of that particular game to play a game. So literally to play a game, we have to know the keys which is used to move the character of that particular game, right? So in order to hide the background detail, we have to encapsulate the data, right? So here encapsulation is nothing but hiding the background details, right? So that is nothing but wrapping up something around an object, right? So here wrapping is nothing but hiding the background details, right? So in Java or any other programming language, how we can implement encapsulation is with the help of access specifiers, right? So we can have a illustration of encapsulation. Open NetBeans and click on File New Project to create a new project. In a new project dialog box, from the categories pane, ensure that whether Java is selected and in projects pane, Java application should be selected. Click on Next. In the next screen, you have to provide the file name, right? So let it be session 3, right? So once the project gets loaded, we can implement encapsulation, right? Yes. So here there is a class. Inside a class we are having a main function, which is a basic structure of Java, right? So here we can also create another one class with the same prototype, right? So to create a class, use the keyword class followed by your name of the class, right? So let the name of the class be shapes, right? So here we have created another one class, right? So what we are going to do is we are going to implement encapsulation, right? To implement encapsulation, we need to learn about access specifier, which is there are three basic set of access specifier. One is private, another one is protected, another one is public, right? So out of these three access specifiers, private is having some limitations, right? So all these three kinds of access specifier can be applied to a variable as well as a function, right? So here I am going to create a variable with the access specifier private, right? So let's say private int a, right? So here I have created a variable of type type int with the access specifier private. So here while we declare a variable with the access specifier private, that particular variable can be used within that particular class, right? For example, here our class name is session 3, right? In this particular class, I have created a variable A with the access specifier private, which means this particular variable A cannot be used inside any other classes, right? So if I attempt to use this particular value of A in this shapes class, it will result in an error, right? So this is a limitation of your private specifier, private access specifier, right? So just keep in mind that private access specifier allows a variable to be accessed only in that particular class. So in this way, we can hide the details from the user. For example, in case of a banking application, the password should not be visible to everyone, right? So we can have user ID and password to be private fields, right? So in this way we can implement encapsulation. Similarly, another one access specifier called protected, right? So what this access specifier will do is, a variable with the access specifier private can be accessed only within that particular class, right? Whereas the variable with the access specifier protected can be accessed within the class and the immediate derived class, right? So I will tell you about derived class in inheritance section. Just keep in mind that protected variable can be accessed inside a particular class in which it is defined, as well as in the immediate derived class of that particular class, right? Your public variable, so the variable which is defined with the access specifier public can be used anywhere inside a program. So these are the basic intro about your access specifier. So I will tell you about derived classes and base classes in our inheritance session, right? So this is about encapsulation. So encapsulation is nothing but wrapping up of data or hiding some background details, right? So how we can implement encapsulation in Java is, with the help of access specifier we can implement encapsulation. So this is about encapsulation. If you are having any queries with encapsulation in Java, you can post your queries in comment section. I will reply to all your queries, right? So let's move on to polymorphism. So here, as the name itself says, polymorphism. So poly means many, whereas morph means shapes or forms. So for example, take student as an object, right? So in school or college, he or she may act as a student, whereas in their home they will be a daughter or a son or a brother or sister, right? So based on the situation or a place where the student is, her functionalities may get changed, right? Similarly, in case of programming, depending on the particular situation, the functionality of an object can be changed, which is known as polymorphism, right? In Java, polymorphism can be implemented with the help of function overloading, right? So function overloading, so when we can say two functions are overloaded means the function with the same name but different types or different number of parameters, right? Which is, let's say in this particular class we are having a function called draw off, right? So here, if I am using another one function, public void draw off, these two functions, that is this particular draw function can be considered as a overloaded function, as we have a draw function with no argument and another draw function with single argument, right? So we can say the function is overloaded when they are having a same name and different type or number of parameters. So if I am having int width as well as float length, right? So now I can say these two functions are to be overloaded. So I cannot overload a function with similar name as well as similar type and number of argument. So instead, if one function is having float type of argument and another one function is having integer type of arguments. So here different type of argument means the data type of particular argument we are using inside a function, right? So here in this particular draw function I am having argument called width. In first function I am having the width argument of type float, whereas in the second function I am having the width argument of type int. So if I am changing the type of width argument inside the first function int, so it will result in error. So I cannot overload a function with same name as well as same type and same number of arguments, right? So in order to overload a function, the function name must be similar and those two functions should differ in type of argument or number of arguments, right? So just remove this. So here what I am going to do is I am going to create a simple function, right? Public void printf, right? So inside this function I am going to print some details, right? So system dot out dot println of inside no argumented print function, right? So here I am going to create another one function, public void print of string a. So now this printf function is inside a class session3, right? We are having two set of print function inside a particular class session3. So these two print function differ by the number of argument, right? So here I can see this print function as a overloaded function. System dot out dot println of inside argumented print function. So now I can call this function, right? So printf will call the first print function, whereas printf welcome will call the second print function. So as I told you in the previous video itself, so only static context can be accessed from the static context, which is here our main function is static, right? So in order for the other function to be called from your main function, you should keep other function as static, right? So this is one rule, and let's run this program. So inside no argumented print function, inside argumented print function, right? So if you don't want to make your function as static, you can create an object for a class, and using that object you can call your function. For example, I am creating an object called S3 for the class session3, right? So using that object I am going to call the functions, right? So s3.printf and s3.printf welcome. So this is also possible, right? So this is about polymorphism. So polymorphism is nothing but an object can have multiple forms, right? So here S3 is a object. Using that particular object we are calling the two kinds of overloaded function. So this is about polymorphism, and another one is, this is function overloading, right? Another one concept called function overriding is there. Before learning about function overloading, we can learn about inheritance. So after learning about inheritance, I will tell you about function overriding, right? So let's go back to our inheritance. So inheritance is nothing but creating a class from another class, right? For example, so here we are having a class called session3, right? Using this particular class session3, if I am creating another one class called session4, session4 is an inherited class of session3, right? So in this way, this is known as inheritance. That is, creating another class from the existing class is called inheritance, right? So there are four types of inheritance. One is single inheritance, multiple inheritance, multi-level inheritance, hybrid inheritance. So before learning about the types of inheritance, I will let you know the basic terminologies used in inheritance, right? The first thing is base class. Base class or existing class or parent class. So all these three names refers to the class using which we have created another one class, right? For example, so here this is a class called session3. Using this session3, if I am creating a class called session4, public class session4, right? So this session3 is called parent class or existing class or base class, whereas this class session4 can be called as derived class, child class or subclass, right? So this is a basic terminology used in inheritance, right? To inherit a class, we need to use the keyword extends. So here, in order to create a class, the syntax is class keyword followed by name of our class, right? So here, to inherit a class from another class, we need to use the keyword extends. So the syntax is class keyword, name of the derived class, extends keyword, name of the base class, right? So this means that we have created a class called session4 from the class session3. So here session4 can be considered as a derived class or a child class or a subclass, whereas session3 can be called as base class or parent class or an existing class, right? So these are the very basic terminologies which is frequently used in case of inheritance, right? So let's move on to types of inheritance, right? The first type is single inheritance. If a class is derived from a single base class, if a single derived class is derived from single base class, that type of inheritance can be known as single inheritance. As in this example, so here there is only one base class which is session3 and there is only one derived class session4. So these two classes are inherited with the help of single inheritance, right? If there are only one base class and if from that base class if we are having only one derived class, that type of inheritance is known as single inheritance. Whereas the second type is multiple inheritance, right? If the class is derived from multiple base classes, that can be considered as a multiple inheritance, right? So for example, consider ice cream as your derived class. This ice cream is derived from the classes called milk, sugar chocolates, right? So milk, sugar, chocolates are the key ingredients for preparing ice cream, right? So if we are having classes like class milk, class water, class sugar and class chocolates, we can have a derived class ice cream by inheriting the ice cream class from all of these four classes. So this kind of scenario is known as multiple inheritance, right? So another one is multi-level inheritance. So multi-level inheritance is there can be one base class. Using that base class we can derive another one class. So by considering this derived class as the base class, we can create another one derived class, right? So here the base class for this derived class 1 is base class. The base class of derived class 2, so it is typed as class 1, just make it as class 2. So the base class for this particular derived class is this derived class, right? So multi-level inheritance can be considered to a generation relationship. So grandfather, father from grandfather, child from father, right? So this is an example for your multi-level inheritance. And another type is hybrid inheritance, right? So which is a combination of any of two inheritance, right? So this is a basic intro about inheritance. We can learn how to create a Java program using this inheritance, right? So we have created a derived class from the class called session 3. So session 3 is a base class, session 4 is a derived class, right? So in derived class I am going to have a function called void. Again we can have the function print itself, right? So in the previous session we had a function print inside the same class itself, right? If we are having a same function which are differing in different type or number of argument inside a same class, that function can be called as overloaded function. Whereas if we are having a same function, one is in base class and another one function in derived class, those two functions are said to be overridden function, right? So here we can cut this print of function and we can paste that function inside our derived class, right? So here right, so inside the base class we are having a function called print, and in the derived class also we are having a function called print, right? So for creating an object for your inherited classes, so there are two functions, right? One is in base class and another one function is in derived class. So one more thing about inheritance is derived class contains all the properties of your base class, right? So if you create an object for derived class, using that object we can access the data members of base class, right? So I am going to create an object for the class session 4, which is our derived class. So using the object we have created for the session 4 classes S3. So if it is confusing, you can rename the object as S4 itself, right? So using this S4 object, I am calling the function print in base class as well as the function print inside a derived class. So now run this program. So again we are getting a same output, right? So this is about inheritance. So in case of inheritance, what inheritance gives you is it will promote reusability, right? So using inheritance in your program, so the derived class inherits all the properties of base class. So using the object of derived class, we can access the members of base class. That is the reason why we didn't create an object for this particular class, which is session 3, right? So this program is an example of single inheritance, right? Whereas, so to implement multiple inheritance, what we have to do is we need to create another one base class, public class S3, right? So session 3 is one base class, S3 is another one base class. Using this class S3, we are going S3 as well as session 3, we are going to create another one class called session 4. So if we create an inheritance with this format, it is known as multiple inheritance. So here the base classes are session 3 and S3, the derived class is session 4, right? But the thing is, Java doesn't support multiple inheritance directly, right? The reason is, so here we are having print function in base class, right? So if I am writing another one function in S3 class, another one print function is derived class, right? So it is enough to create an object for derived class in order to access the data members of your base class, right? So if I am inheriting a class from multiple base class, it will be difficult for the compiler to call the function in runtime, right? So if I use the object of derived class to call the function inside a base class, so the compiler will get into a confusion of which function it has to call, right? For example, if I am having another one print function inside this base class S3, so if I am calling the function print, there will be an error, right? So this is a reason why Java doesn't support multiple inheritance, however, directly, right? However, Java indirectly supports multiple inheritance with the help of interface. So interface is a fresh new concept which we will learn in our next session. Before that, what comes to your mind when you hear the term interface? So literally on hearing that term, what your guesses on that interface? So just comment your guesses on the concept interface in the comment section. So let's have a look on it, right? So we can learn about interface in our next session. So after learning interface, I will explain you how to implement multiple inheritance using interface in Java. Until then, stay tuned with Hum of Programming. Subscribe to our channel for getting live updates regarding programming. Thank you.